What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another exclusive interview on the Winning Mentality YouTube channel. And today, it's an absolute pleasure of mine to welcome Richard Buck to the channel. How are you, mate?
Hey, good, thank you.
Yeah, so Rich, for those who don't know who you are, give us a brief background into your career before we delve into it a little bit more in depth.
So I was a 400-meter sprinter for Great Britain, 2008, 2012 Olympian, 2013 European champion, and total 7 international medals for Great Britain.
Yeah, so a lot of medals going on there. Do you find space to keep them?
They're just in a drawer, to be honest with you. I got some of them out with places that I've studied and trained. The ones that I got at home are just sitting in my drawer.
I'd be having them on the wall. I would, but so we'll start from the beginning, as per usual. We probably should start from the beginning. You started off more multi-sport wise, didn't you? So what got you into sprinting first off?
Yes, I kind of started as a basketballer. I really wanted to be a basketballer. I played in my school team. We did pretty well in the English schools, made the final a couple of times. And kind of what got me into sprinting was the basketball team was told to go and do track and field over summer, so we all went to go and do it together. And no one wanted to do the 400 meters. I used to do a bit of long jump, and I'd do a bit of 100. Occasionally I'd do a 200, and because no one would do the 400, the PE teacher just grabbed me and was like, "Buck, I need you to go and do one of these 400 races." So I ran round and I won, and I was pretty elated. It's nice to win things. It was not a fast time at all, but as I'd never run 400 meters before, I had no idea. So I decided that, you know what, I was going to go down to the local club and I was going to run 400 meters. And that was the kind of point I realized actually what a crazy event I'd chosen, and I wished I could do something else. But I couldn't move down to 200s or 100s. I had to stay at the course because that was where my ability was.
Yeah, lots of people say that it's probably the most difficult event to run. Would you concur with that?
Yeah, I think, it depends. It's not an easy event. None of them are easy, though. I think about the 400 for me is, whilst it does really hurt and takes a huge toll on the body, I kind of feel that pain when I cross the finish line, which I think is a blessing. The endurance athletes, 800-meter runners, I'm thinking of 1,500-meter runners. If I was running that event, that would be hurting me as I'm going, and that would be hard for me to push through. So for me, I would rather do the 400 than an 800. I think it's personal preference. It's certainly not an easy event. Yeah,
so talk to me about when you first sort of started getting noticed by local authorities and then eventually national selectors. What was that feeling like?
It's cool. So I grew up in Pickering, and it's small town in the middle of North Yorkshire, most absolutely beautiful. But there's no athletics track there. So when I was training and racing in my school league, it was just racing on grass tracks all the time. So I kind of started to get a feel for how fast I was going. The times were recorded and I could compare them to other people. And I was thinking, you know what? I'm looking actually like I would be a competitive 15-year-old kid on a national level against other 15-year-olds, which is really exciting to me. So I went to my first English schools, and it was this huge experience. Because you're competing against all of the kids that qualify from all over the country. But I found, because I've been racing on grass previously, in actual fact, when I got onto a track, I was a lot faster than I'd expected to be because the surface was harder and it was easier to run on. So I kind of I'd handicapped myself beforehand, and now I was on the track, I just skyrocketed. And because there was such a marked improvement, the next year, national selectors kind of kept an eye on me and watched me for talent programs and things. And it was the next year actually. So I started year one, and the next year I went on to have a completely unbeaten season. I think I won the national championships in a new record, the English schools, schools international. So it was a really good year for me. I worked incredibly hard, pushed myself, but I was really fortunate that I seemed to take to it so well.
Yeah, and so your first sort of big tournament was the Commonwealth Youth Games in terms of international.
Yeah.
Wise. So what was it like going over to Australia, you know, for someone who's been mainly based in England or only based in England, to go and compete against people from all different countries?
Yeah, you know, it's fantastic. We, you know, we did occasional holidays every couple of years, but this, I've not really travelled. I certainly haven't left Europe, so that was a pretty big one. So it's cool to be over there. And it's multi-sport as well. So you're with, you know, gymnasts, boxers, rugby players. You get to go and watch those sports, see how those people train. It's a real eye-opener for me. And again, you know, I was really fortunate that I did well at that championships. I think I came third, which is nice, you know, and one of your first major internationals, to actually come away with a medal. It made me feel like I might be able to do something in this sport. Yeah,
and it obviously got more consistent, more into the GB sort of setup. So how did that come about? Really, was it a natural progression from the youth setup to the actual setup?
Yeah, track and field is one of those. I think it's quite a nice sport for progression, because you don't have to be judged on your style or your skill. There really is like this empirical evidence you can compare yourself against other people in, because the 400-meter distance doesn't change. Conditions might vary a little bit, but you know, whatever the clock stops on, that's what you've run. So you know kind of where you are against other people. So from that point of view, you know, as long as you're still improving and to a point where you're running fast enough to get noticed, you will get noticed probably. But saying that, I did very mindfully with my coach, who was actually my grandfather. We did slow down my advancement into the senior team. So when it was looking like I might be running fast enough to make senior teams, we still elected to go and do the junior championships. So it was 2005, I had an appendix operation, really kind of messed up my preparation for the whole summer thing, where we might have been thinking about going for senior championships. We sat down and had a talk and said, why don't we just do the age groups again? So did the under 20 Europeans, and I came away from that with a gold medal. It's just, you know, it's nice because it wasn't like I was significantly better. It was a real hard competition to go through, and I just feel like kind of taking those steps gradually, it kind of that's what helped me build the continuity, that consistent level of performance throughout my career.
Yeah, and obviously you went on to win all the medals you listed. Which one in particular meant the most to you?
It's hard to say. In 2011, I won a bronze medal indoors, going back from an Achilles operation, which was, I mean, from a point of view of kind of just getting back on track on an international stage right before London 2012, that was a huge boost. In 2013, we went on to go and win the gold medal at the Europeans, which was fantastic because, again, it was not an easy race. I got knocked. I almost fell over, so it was kind of really coming back against the odds to win. Just missed out on a European record that race. Yeah, the race that really sticks in my mind the most, though, was this race in 2007. It was a world final with the senior team. I was running the relay. And in the final, on the third leg, it was one of those relay changes where everyone came together. Polish guy, the German guy, and me, we all kind of collided and sort of went down towards the floor. I narrowly managed to evade completely falling flat on my face. I just doing an immediate push-up off the deck and kept going. But, you know, by all accounts, that accident, the incident, slowed me down to the point where we weren't getting a medal. But it's strange how things work out, because whilst I was incredibly disappointed and I was embarrassed about it for a long time, and, you know, rightly so, my friends tease me about it because it's funny, pointing but funny. It was probably that experience in 2013 where, when the exact same thing started to happen, that the whole track kind of compressed and it was looking like it was going to be a really clumsy second lap, I managed to kind of see it and avoid the worst of it, slowing myself down, but not falling over. And that was, I think, because I'd been through this really weird trip up in 2007, And now in 2013, I'd learned from that, and that was what allowed us to go on and win the gold medal. So, yeah, in a weird way, I think the race that I fell over in the World Championships is probably the race that means the most to me, because that's what I've learned the most from.
Absolutely, good way to look at it, I think. So, what got you more? Do you prefer running in a race with a team, or do you prefer running alone? Is there a massive difference psychologically?
Yeah, I think everyone takes things differently, but for me, when I race on my own, I really enjoy that, because I don't feel the pressure of running with a team. I just feel the pressure on myself. But I do feel like I put more pressure on myself for individual races than I do in a relay. It's an individual sport. I always enjoy running on my own. You train on your own, you push yourself, and from my perspective, I want to see how fast I can go. So that individual event means a lot to me. But the feeling of running in a relay that I used to have, it was almost freeing. So I get the baton, and I pull things out of the bag that I didn't realise were in there. I seem to be able to find more in a relay split than I could do in an individual race. And I think it is that team spirit. You come together, you don't want to let people down, you want to do your best for other people. So in a weird way, I think it probably brought the better side out of me. Certainly the side that moving forward past athletics, I want to develop more. Is that kind of that team spirit, that giving, and that finding things you didn't realise you had.
Absolutely. You mentioned earlier your grandfather. How much of a big of an influence was he on your sprinting career?
He was a huge influence, because we didn't have any sprint coaches when I was starting out. So there was no one to get advice from. So my granddad had done some coaching 30 years previously when my mum was running, because he had like an interest in athletics. And he kept his hand in, but not really done a lot. And then I came along, all of a sudden he was like, do you know what? I'm going to learn all I can about this. And we're going to try and help you get there, because there's no one you can go to. So we went along, and because it kept working so well, we just kept going onwards together. He coached me to the 2008 Olympic Games. He coached me to my first senior international medal in 2009, which was European silver. And the Great Britain team as well, they really valued his input, because they pulled him out to a lot of these competitions and training camps with me, because they wanted him to be there so he could share his thoughts with me, and he could learn from other athletes, and he could even sort of like teach and share ideas with other coaches. So they were really keen that we worked together as a team at that point, and that he was quite a prominent part of the GB team as well.
Yeah, so talking about Team GB, how much was it an honour to be at an Olympic Games, well, 2 Olympic Games?
Yeah, it's a bizarre feeling. It's as an athlete, I work not in sort of like a year-by-year basis, but I focus my life based on Olympic cycles. So I don't go, oh, next year's what I want to do. I'm like, okay, so in 2012, this is where I want to be. And I start building back from there. So the Olympics is the pinnacle. That is your one thing every 4 years that you go for. So when you get the phone call from selectors, and they're so blunt with it as well. They're like, "Oh, Richard, yeah." It's like, some good news for you. You've been picked for the Olympics. We'll send some information out about how you're going to get your kit and where we're going to meet you. And then that's it. The phone goes down. So, it's just so matter of fact from them. But for me, especially as a young kid who, I have not got anywhere near as much life experience as I really would like to have to be in that environment. It's mind-blowing. And then you go to an Olympics, this huge pinnacle of the sport, pinnacle of so many sports, because you see tennis stars there, basketball players, people that I watch on TV all the time that I really admire, that I'm genuine fans of, and they're walking around getting dinner next to you, and it's like, wow, this is insane. So yeah, it's a huge honor. It's a really big deal. You know that when you get picked for that, it's more than just being picked for GB. It's you join a club of people, of Olympians, and that becomes a part of you forever that you can't get rid of. So yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. So what? You've been to many different places, Beijing for one, obviously. What's your favourite place that you've ever run at?
My favorite place is Geneva in Switzerland. Absolutely love it. This amazing city, and the athletics track is just next to this gorgeous clear river. It's not got a huge grandstand at all, but they've got the mountains in the background, and they always get an incredible turnout. And the Swiss people, they seem incredibly passionate about track and field. So these amazing fans come down and support you. And I've always run well there as well. So that's probably my favourite place to run.
Yeah, I think I read it. You got your personal best there, if I'm not mistaken.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, not too shabby. Probably the best one to pick for your favourite place. But so you won in both indoor and outdoor medals. Was there any difference between the way that you looked at them? Because there must be some sort of difference psychologically, maybe the wind blowing and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's the same distance, but they're two very different races. Because of course, outdoors you've got a quarter of a mile, your own space, and so really it's just how efficiently you can put down on the track for you. And it doesn't matter whether you go fast for the first 200 or fast for the second 200. It doesn't matter whether you break the race down into 50-meter blocks, 100-meter blocks, 20-meter blocks, however you want to approach it. But indoors, you've got it's a more open skill, because for the second lap, everyone comes in towards that first lane. So, you can't just sit back and be like, this is how I want to execute my race. You're going to have to make decisions in the moment based on how other people are acting as well. And I think I was quite good at making instant decisions in a race based on where I found myself. And, those tactical decisions, they seem to work out for me more often than not. I mean, I made some mistakes as well, but usually I was able to learn from those mistakes and produce my better performances in the major championships, which is actually what you want to do. And yeah, the tracks are different shapes as well. The lanes inside are a foot narrower than they are outside. You've got the banking on the curves, so it kind of throws you into it. It's a small up, small down. Yeah, they're two really weird events. I mean, it's quite strange to say, but I prefer the indoor because I like the chaos that it brings. I really enjoy it when everyone comes in at 200 meters and you start clashing shoulders and you've got to make decisions right there in the moment. That for me is a lot more fun. Because I guess I stop thinking about the race and the pain that I'm about to feel and just start focusing on how do I get around these people, how do I keep them behind me, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, one more thing before we move on to the more present day, what you're up to at the moment. I read that you actually struggled for funding at one point, and then once you appeared on BBC Yorkshire and then managed to have an anonymous donator. £10,000. So what was that like? Because obviously you were in a difficult place, and to get that amount of money from someone who you didn't even know.
Yeah, I mean that was incredible. This was a time. It was just after the 2011 season, going to the 2012 Olympic season, and our head coach decided that what we needed was. Our resolve testing, I think, and they'd cut a lot of athletes who had won international medals the year before. I'd won 2 medals at the Europeans in 2011 and still found myself off the funding program going into 2012. So you've got to ask, what could I possibly do more besides winning the gold medals at those championships? Which obviously I wanted to do, but didn't. And the athletes were doing all sorts of things to try and raise money. Most of them were crowdfunding themselves or putting themselves on eBay, and that's kind of not the way I'm brought up. I'm told you're supposed to really earn what you get. So the first thing I did when I found out the funding was been taken away was I was in my local supermarket with my CV, and I got a job. So I had a job working nights at Tesco. I kind of came in at 5 p.m. after training, worked through till midnight. Went back home, sleep, and then turn up the track at 9 a.m. the next morning. And it was BBC, one show ran a story on me, Olympic Dreams, and then the ITV calendar as well. ran stores and how that was my approach to it, you know, instead of crowdfunding and all the rest of it. And absolutely lovely person. Clearly felt that was, I guess, merit worthy enough for them to want to donate cash to me. It was a hell of a sum as well. I mean, you know, I just felt it added a lot more pressure on, I felt, because this person had faith in me. And now I felt like, you know what, I definitely have to get here. I have to try and do everything I can to get to the Olympics, you know, to keep performing as well as I can. Because it's now not just me that wants this, but other people clearly want this for me as well. I have people that support me and want me to do well. So from that point of view, I felt a little bit more weight on my shoulders, a bit more pressure. But overall, I was just inspired that someone out there felt that I was worth that sort of donation. Incredible.
Yeah. So into one of the more amazing transitions from just industries, really. So you're now in acting, Rich. Was it something that you always envisaged doing after your athletics career?
I don't think I always envisioned it. I did it as a kid. It was something that I really enjoyed. Then after the 2012 Olympics, a friend of mine went to local acting classes and said that it'd be something I'd probably enjoy, so I went along with him to do that, and he was right. I did enjoy it. Enjoyed it a lot. I then got a job working with cameras, making films for educational material. Whilst I was kind of finishing up my running career, doing that part-time, because it was mainly sporting tutorials and things. So I really enjoyed that. And then this audition came up for a film called Crying Wolf. It's a short film, about 20 minutes long. And the director is now a friend of mine, obviously I didn't know at the time, a guy called Jason Rivers. He called me back 3 times for the audition. He said to me afterwards, you know, I really felt bad that I called you back so many times. It's just that you'd never done any real acting before. You had no real training. But I was casting your part against 2 guys that have graduated drama school, and I thought like you were going to be a better fit. So I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. So that was a real confidence boost for me. And he was a real nice guy, fantastic director. I learned a lot from him and from the other actors on that set, because that's my first real experience of a big set. And that film went on to do really well. It won loads of awards at festivals. It's even opened for Star Wars Episode 7 and Mad Max Road Fury at festivals. And so I guess that I was really fortunate that was the first job I had. And I was kind of only half going for it from an audition, from an open casting call I happened to see. So when that was all over and I came back to run, I was really kind of struggling to be like, I guess I felt like I'd achieved a lot in the sport. And what my original plan was to go until Tokyo 2020. Now I've found something else that I really enjoyed. And I realized I'd sort of identified myself too much as Richard the athlete, the runner. Now, my friends were like, oh, Richard's the sports guy that we know. I would even call myself, you know, the athlete, the runner, the sports person. I was like, I'm not that. I'm me, and I have my own interests, and it's okay if they change. And so it was January, and I was racing for Great Britain at the Glasgow Grand Prix. And I woke up one morning, the morning of the race, and I kind of thought to myself, do you know what? I'm going to put in an application for drama school and just see what happens. And I did that, and I got the audition, so I went for it. And I didn't hear anything for a while. And then it was that summer, I was racing again for Great Britain in Russia at the European Teams Championships. And I was in absolute tears when I came off the track. And a lot of my teammates thought it was because, you know, we didn't quite win the race. We lost to France by 100th of a second, and I was running the last leg. They're like, oh man, it's okay, don't worry about it. You know, we'll come back stronger. And I hadn't realized what it was, but something inside me instinctively just kind of knew that this was my last year running. But I decided I was going to go and do something else. And so, you know, when I sat down and let myself kind of, I guess, work through some of these feelings, I realized that the reason I was feeling emotional, and the reason I was feeling this conflict was because I genuinely now want to move on to a new challenge. And so it was so strange. It was the next week I got confirmation that I'd been accepted to drama school. And then I told my coach, and he said, this is it. This is my last year running. I'm going to go and do something else. And then it was just a case of planning my final few races of the season, which was actually a lot of fun, because when people knew I was retiring, there was a lot of venues that were really keen to get me there for my last ever race. So I had an amazing end to that year. It was brilliant.
And yeah, so what's your future envisioning like? So obviously you went through drama school, you got a master's. What's your future going to be in? What sort of films do you envisage yourself being in?
A great question. I don't know. So I wrote a book a while ago whilst I was running, a novel, and I've been working with Jason on adapting it for a screenplay. We shot a short 7-minute proof of concept. It came out really well. We've pulled the full team behind that, and last tax year we were really close to getting the full funding package, but just missed out by 25%. So unfortunately, because new tax year, production companies reinvest their money in different projects, so we kind of start from scratch again. And now COVID's put that on the back as well. But that's kind of like an anti-hero London 2012 athletics story. It doesn't tell the glory. It tells kind of the majority of the athletes that go to Olympic Games. It tells their story. It's not about the champions. It's not necessarily about the losers. It's just about those that go and do. And that's sort of like everyday average human experience, things that people can really relate to. That's what fascinates me. I like reading about it in books. I like watching films about it. So, that sort of stuff's really great. The other thing is I absolutely adore theatre, and if I got a chance to go and do some really long runs in theatres, that would be sensational. We had a short run of 39 steps, which I've been fortunate to play before. That was scheduled to be going ahead this May, which unfortunately hasn't happened, but I've spoken to the production company, and they're pretty committed to trying to find a slot for it next year, although it'll depend on theatre availability. So yeah, interesting question, film. I'm an actor at the end of the day, so I kind of take what I can get. But I think, having stories that you're passionate about yourself, that's the dream for any actor, is to be involved in telling that sort of story that you yourself would be interested in, because it's just a great kind of discovery that you get to do of yourself and then tell that story to other people, because that's what actors are. They're just people that like rambling on and telling stories.
Absolutely. And have you got any ambitions to go maybe into directing or producing or even writing?
Yeah, I love not producing. Producing is, I've produced some very, very small things in the past, and every single one of those, I feel like it's aged me significantly. So that's probably not where my talents lie. I'd be fascinated to explore directing, but again, I feel like I'm a long way off that. And writing, again, it is something that I think is brilliant, but I don't feel like I'm qualified to do that solo right now. But I have collaborated a couple of times with other writers on projects, and it's just, I feel like you learn so much when you do that. So all of it really is something I'd be interested in doing and developing. I feel like if you want to survive in challenging industries, you've got to kind of add strings to your bow. So that would be the plan, I guess, to develop a multifaceted approach to the creative arts.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because a lot of the journalists and stuff that we've talked to said exactly the same thing. You have to have a lot of strings to your bow, and that's very interesting that you're saying that in the acting industry as well. But yeah, I think that'll be a really good place to close it off. Thank you very much, Richard, for joining me. It's been a real pleasure to hear your stories. Is there any social medias that you'd like our viewers to check you out on?
I got a website, which is www.richardbuck.co.uk, and that kind of links you to my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's rickb400 is my @
Yeah, everyone go follow Richard. And for us, there's some new content coming up this week. I don't know whether it will be up beforehand, called My Club or something along those lines, where we get fans from a lot of clubs to come and talk about their loves. So yeah, new stuff, new exciting stuff on the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.